Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the UFC Fight Cards podcast. I'm Ross Renault, and thank you for joining us here on a Saturday night for an instant reaction to the first UFC event of 2024. UFC Fight Night from the Apex in Las Vegas between Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. The second meeting between these two after the no contest last year. So we welcome you in here. Like I said, this is the UFC Fight Cards podcast presented by Orange Fire Media, and we're looking forward to so much happening in 2024. Some good things going as we move into the new year, the season 2 of the show. We did 45 episodes in year 1. Tried to wrap up every UFC event that happened, and we went through a lot of cards, sold a lot of cards, and we still have some left. So we may take a look at some towards the end of the show. Doing things a little bit different this year. We're going to be looking at just maybe some gambling sides of the fights and making more predictions as we go into next week's fights. And we'll recap what happened the night before, or what happened the hours before, and then we'll get into the following cards and making some predictions going forward. So some things different here on the show this year, and we hope that you're here for it, that you subscribe, and you can be entered into our card giveaways that we're still trying to do sometime here in the near future. So let's get right to it. So we had UFC Fight Night from Las Vegas and the Apex, and we had number 3 Magomed Ankalaev against number 6 Johnny Walker in the light heavyweight division, and this one went about the way that we thought it would. Magomed Ankalaev really showing what we thought that he would be. Just had a lot of weird results over the last 2 years. Some no contests, some draws, just weird stuff. But getting the second round knockout in the fashion that he did was just tremendous for his career, and just shows that solidifies that number 3 ranking. You got the champion Alex Pereira, and then you've got the former champion, just due to injury, Jamal Hill, number 1 contender, Yuri Prochazka, number 2, and Magomed Ankalaev is right there at number 3. So I think he really put a stamp on that position, and we'll see here as we go along that we've got Yuri Prochazka and Alexander Rakic coming up, and so you may see the winners of those two fights. You can see Yuri take on Ankalaev, or Rakic if he should win that fight. So big things for Magomed Ankalaev. So just seeing where Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill fit in that picture. When Jamal Hill comes back, he'll be getting that title shot. So we'll see what happens with Ankalaev. But I think that title shot will come after Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira square off. Probably get the winner of that title fight somewhere down the road, maybe late 2024, just depending on that injury to Jamal Hill. He thinks he'll be ready to go sometime here in the spring, so that timeline probably works out pretty well. So just like I said, great showing, just a great knockout there for Ankalaev. And then, the longevity of Jim Miller on display again tonight. 37th win in the UFC, just tremendous record for Jim Miller, extending that win record in the promotion. So getting that win over Gabriel Benitez with a submission in the 3rd round. So looking forward to UFC 300 for Jim Miller. Don't have anything on the books for that yet, but obviously they had to get through this fight first, and then so we'll probably be seeing something in the next couple of weeks about that. And we'll talk a lot about UFC 300 coming up here in a little bit, because that thing could be all over the place. We'll see what happens. So some of the other results: unanimous decision for Mario Bautista over number 13 Ricky Simon. So good showing there by Bautista. Bruno Ferreira, first round knockout of Phil Hawes. And on the main card, Waldo Cortez Acosta with a unanimous decision over Andrei Arlovsky. And Arlovsky, he's a legend, kind of, but it's just not as enjoyable to watch him fight anymore. Just personally, I mean, sorry to say, there's a time where Andrei Arlovsky fights were fun. You're looking forward to him, seeing what big name that he'd be going up against, but that's just not the case anymore. Just to see him take some of these losses just shows that he's on that downside, and just not a real big reason to keep going, in my opinion. We see one of the rookies from the 2023 card products, Matthew Simmelsberger, took a loss tonight to Preston Parsons in the welterweight division. That was a unanimous decision. Parsons was supposed to face Basil Hafez. I was really looking forward to seeing Basil Hafez again, but we were not able to get that one going. So not coming up on any cards anytime soon either. So hopefully he gets put on one of those spring cards coming up soon, because he should be one of those rookies to watch in 2024. In the card products, I think he should be in there along with Diego Lopez. Those will probably be two of the bigger ones that we see. Just looking at the other results, kind of looking for rookies from the 2023 products. Nobody else on there, but we did see a lot of knockouts early. Didn't get the ones on the main card, but started off with three straight knockouts. So you got Joshua Van, Nicholas Mata, and Gene Silva all getting knockouts there in the early going in that card. So now we look ahead to UFC 297. January 20th, that is next Saturday in Toronto, and the main event, middleweight championship on the line between the champion Sean Strickland and the number 2 ranked contender Dricus du Plessis. A little bit of build up to this fight. You saw the brawl in the stands at the last pay-per-view in December. There's some bad blood there, so it'll be fun to watch. The women's bantamweight title is vacant, so that'll be on the line. Number 2, Raquel Pennington against number 3, Mayra Bueno Silva. And Bueno Silva really setting this up for a matchup. You figure the winner is getting Juliana Pena, and Mayra Bueno Silva is, kind of calling her out already, trying to, but don't overlook Raquel Pennington. She's a veteran. She can get the job done, so I wouldn't worry too much about Juliana Pena right now. So we got Neil Magny and Mike Malott, welterweight division. Neil Magny ranked number 13. Mike Malott unranked right now, but being up there in Canada, Toronto, he's looked phenomenal. So expect big things out of Mike Malott next weekend. So if we do some predictions, I'm actually going to go Sean Strickland for the middleweight title. I'm going to have him hold on to that little placeholder, bring Izzy back, and get that rematch going. I am going to go with Mayra Bueno Silva in the women's bantamweight matchup. She better put her mouth where her money is. So we'll see how that goes. But I think I'm gonna go Bueno Silva on that, and then Malott over Neil Magny. Now we've got Chris Curtis and Marc-Andre Barriault, middleweight division. Chris Curtis been off for a while, kind of been in and out of cards, kind of been dropped and come back. So I think some of that turmoil, being on that same card with his teammate Sean Strickland and not having each other in the corners, I think it may play a factor. I'm gonna go Barriault in this one. This one's pretty big though. Arnold Allen, Movsar Evloev, featherweight division, number 3 against number 9. So Evloev did not look great. His one of his last time out, but against Diego Lopez, we have seen that is actually a pretty big win at this point. Short notice, taking that fight against Diego Lopez and just seeing what he's done in his subsequent fight. It was pretty impressive that Evloev survived that one. But we're going to give the nod to Arnold Allen in this one to get the job done. So that's the main card. We'll go down the rest of it. See if anything has happened since we were off. Nothing stands out that wasn't already on there before when we had the show last in December. So we go to UFC Fight Night, February 3rd in the Apex in Las Vegas. We've got number 7, Roman Dolidze against number 11, Nasruddin Imavov, middleweight division. Then we've got lightweight matchup, number 13, Renato Moicano against number 15, Drew Dober. That one's pretty new. Randy Brown against Muslim Salikov, welterweight division. We've got a Randy Brown auto if anybody is looking for one. Got a cheap one available. We'll look at some here, see some of the stuff we have left here in a second. What else we got that's new? Luana Carolina against Juliana Stolarenko. Aliskab Kizreev against Mahmoud Muradov. So then you look down the card a little bit. Molly McCann coming back. And then you got a little, pretty good women's flyweight matchup. Number 7, Vivian Araujo against number 10, Natalia Silva. So that kind of rounds out that card. Themba Garembo, he's back in action in that one too. Got a new opponent, Pete Rodriguez, so welterweight division. So then we go to Fight Night on February 10th. A lot of Apex cards here in the early going. Kind of would rather have one of those here in Houston than in the Apex. But February 10th, Jack Hermanson against Joe Pyfer, number 10, Jack Hermanson. Joe Pyfer, unranked, one of the rookies in 2023, middleweight division. We just saw that story come out from Joe Rogan and Sean Brady that Joe Pyfer broke Francis Ngannou's record at the PI for hardest hitting. They have a machine that measures how hard you hit it, and Francis Ngannou has held the record for years, and they said Joe Pyfer broke it 3 times in a row. So that's interesting. He hits hard. See if he can get the job done against Jack Hermanson, and we'll make some picks the week before the fight. So you got featherweight matchup, top 15, number 13, Dan Ige against number 15, Laurent Murphy. And then looking down that card, Adolfo Vieira coming back against Armin Petrosian. Luma Lukbunmi against Bruno Brazil, women's strawweight matchup. That was pretty good. A little sneaky good fight there. And also Max Griffin against Jeremiah Wells in the welterweight division. That's also kind of one of those under-the-radar fights that will probably end up being pretty good. So then we get to UFC 298, February 17th in Anaheim. Alexander Volkanovski putting the featherweight championship on the line against number 5 contender Ilia Topuria. Great fight there, of course. All the hype with Topuria just thinking Volkanovski's old and washed up. So we'll see. So welterweight division, number 8 Jeff Neal against number 10 Ian Machado Gary. This one's been tried to be put on a lot of cards, been moved around a few times, but now scheduled for UFC 298. Another big one, bantamweight division, number 2 Merab Dvalishvili against number 3 Henry Cejudo. Middleweight division, number 15 Anthony Hernandez against Ikram Askalarov. Women's strawweight matchup, number 3 Tatiana Suarez against number 4 Amanda Lemos. Heavyweight division, number 14 Marcos Rogerio de Lima against Justin Tafa. Then another ranked fighter, another ranked opponent. Number 14 Andrea Lee will face Miranda Maverick in the women's flyweight division. Miranda Maverick, a friend of one of the groups that we're in the hobby, helping out with UFC sports cards. Miranda Maverick participating in some of the breaks and getting involved, so that's cool to see. UFC Fight Night, February 24th in Mexico City. This turned out to be pretty big. Number 1 flyweight contender Brandon Moreno will face the number 3 ranked contender Brandon Royval. And then in the featherweight division, number 2 Yair Rodriguez against number 3 Brian Ortega in a rematch. Ortega has not fought since he fought Yair Rodriguez. It's probably a year and a half ago at this point. Ortega, the shoulder came out. Yair Rodriguez able to get that position, and then Ortega's shoulder separating, and that led to the stoppage. Went down as a win. Went down as a TKO for Rodriguez. So that'll be interesting to see what happens in the next matchup between those two. See how Ortega comes back. Ro Rosas Jr. is also on this card against Ricky Tercios, bantamweight division. And looking down, Pretty full card there. But then we go to Fight Night on March 2nd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. No fight scheduled for this card yet. It's kind of interesting at this point because they're still trying to put together that UFC 300 card, and you want to have a really good Saudi Arabia card. But there's just not a whole lot of stuff left out there right now. So it'd be interesting what they come up with. Looking forward to seeing what happens there on March 2nd. So then we get to UFC 299 March 9th in Miami, which right now is better than UFC 300. May end up being better than UFC 300 by design because you're going to put a lot of eyeballs on this UFC 299 event. You're going to have an announcement of the main event maybe on that card. If they don't do it before, we've seen this happen before where they'll announce it on that pay-per-view before it. But we'll talk about UFC 300 here in a minute about what that main event could be. Because a lot of people are just going crazy off the wall, just thinking something will stick, but I'm not buying that. So March 9th in Miami, bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley against Chito Vera in a rematch there. That is O'Malley's only professional loss was to Chito a few years ago. Now, just announced this week, in the lightweight division, you got number 3 Dustin Poirier against Benoit Saint-Denis, and that's a great fight. Kudos to Dustin for taking that fight. Welterweight division, number 4 Gilbert Burns against number 11 Jack Della Maddalena. Welterweight division, number 12 Kevin Holland against Michael Page. Heavyweight division, great matchup here. Number 5 Curtis Blades against number 7 Jailton Almeida. We were supposed to see this one earlier into last year, and Blades had to pull out, so now we'll see Almeida in there. Women's flyweight division, number 4 Caitlin Chookagian against number 7 Macy Barber. Lightweight division, number 6 Mateusz Gamrot against number 11 Rafael dos Anjos. Bantamweight division, number 5 Piotr Jan against number 7 Song Yadong. I mean, we were 8 fights into this card, and I mean, just everybody's ranked. You don't see that much. And then another ranked fighter, number 11 Pedro Munoz against Kyler Phillips in the bantamweight division. Then you fill it out, Robelis de Spain against Josh Parisian, heavyweight division. Middleweight, Michelle Pereira against Michael Olasechuk. And flyweight division, CJ Vergara against Asu Almabayev. So, huge UFC 299 card. So then, some more announcements that we've had this week. UFC Fight Night, March 16th in Vegas. This fight has been on other cards before. It's been moved around. But we've got a heavyweight headliner for that event at the Apex. Number 9, Tai Tuivasa, and number 10, Marcin Tybura. And also on March 23rd, also from the Apex, we've got a main event with number 9, Amanda Ribas against Rose Namajunas in a flyweight matchup. So then we get to Fight Night on March 30th in Atlantic City. So moving away from the Apex for at least 1 week. Number 7, Sean Brady against number 9, Vicente Luque. The welterweight division. Love this next fight. Really been looking forward to this one for so long that these two finally get to go at it in Aaron Blanchfield's home state of New Jersey. Number 2, Aaron Blanchfield against number 3, Manon Fiorot, the women's flyweight division. And the only other fight on this card right now is a middleweight matchup between the former champion Chris Weidman and Bruno Silva. So then we go back to the Apex on April 6th, and a middleweight matchup between number 5 Marvin Vettori and number 8 Brendan Allen. And then we finally get to UFC 300, April 13th, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Main event to be determined. So let's circle back to that here once we go through the rest of the card that we have so far. So this one just announced, women's strawweight matchup, the one we've been looking forward to. Thought we were going to see this one in China. We did not get to see that. The card didn't even happen in China. But Zhang Weili against Yan Xiaonan. And they said they would only do this in China, but UFC 300 came calling, and so you don't turn that down. So there we go. Zhang Weili, Yan Xiaonan. Should be really looking forward to that one. Lightweight matchup. Number 1, Charles Oliveira against number 4, Arman Saryukian. Winner gets Islam Makhachev. that's already been determined. Light heavyweight matchup, this one we're talking about, number 2 Yuri Prochazka against number 5 Alexander Rakic. Expect the winner to get Ankalaev in this one. Then featherweight matchup, this is interesting. Calvin Kattar, number 7, against the number 1 bantamweight contender, the former champion Aljamain Sterling, making his move up to 145. Then the middleweight division, Bo Nickel returning to action against Cody Brundage. And bantamweight matchup, number 8 Davison Figueiredo. So moving up from that flyweight division to bantamweight in his second fight in the bantamweight division against the former champion Cody Garbrandt. So that is all of UFC 300 right now. So what could that main event be? I don't think it's going to be any shock that we're going to see Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad right here in UFC 300, because it's really the only thing that works and makes sense. So you've got everything else scheduled out. So heavyweight title fight, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, that ain't happening there. Too early. And, I mean, you could have Tom Aspinall face somebody, but who's he going to fight? Stipe? I think Stipe's not going to fight anybody but John Jones. So that's out. There's no reason for Tom Aspinall to fight anybody else at this point. Unless you go Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane. You could do that. But who wants to see that as a main event at UFC 300? Nobody. Even me, the biggest Tom Aspinall fan on YouTube. Besides Tom Aspinall, probably. But anyway, and Michael Bisping. We'll give him that. But so you're not going to see Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane here as the main event at UFC 300. So then you go down to light heavyweight division. You've got Alex Pereira, and he needs to fight Jamal Hill next. That ain't happening either. Jamal Hill is not going to be back, I don't think. So, there's an outside. I'm going to give a 10% chance that that's the main event at UFC 300. Unless you get Pereira and Izzy again, which haven't heard anything of that either. So that doesn't seem likely either. So then we go down to 185. So we go to middleweight division. You've already got Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis at UFC 297. So we go to 155. Islam is celebrating Ramadan, so he is observing that, and so he's out. That's why you've got Charlie Olives, in his matchup. So that ain't happening either. And that's actually on that card. Oliveira and Sarukian is on that card. 145, Volkanovski's already taken on Topuria. 135, O'Malley's already taken on Vera. And flyweight division is just not going to get the pull that UFC 300 needs. So you're not going to see Alessandro Pantoja face anybody at UFC 300 as the main event. So what are we left with? We're left with Leon Edwards against Bilal Muhammad. That is the only fight that makes sense here. Unless you are just going to pull this rabbit out of the hat with McGregor Chandler. That's the only other thing that remotely makes sense and works. There's no Khabib coming back. There's no GSP coming back. And even if they did, especially for GSP, I wouldn't want to see it. Khabib coming back, that kind of be a bigger deal than GSP coming back. But I just don't know who you put him up against. So I've got to think it's Leon and Bilal. That they're just trying to work out the details, when they're going to announce it, all that kind of stuff. So look for that to be your main event. Because who wants to see a non-title fight as the main event at UFC 300? I don't. As a UFC fan, I do not want to see a non-title fight be the main event at UFC 300. I've got so many other events throughout the years you can do this stuff. I just don't know that that's the place. And I don't get excited about pay-per-views that don't have a title fight. That's just me. Personally, I just don't like having to pay for something that doesn't mean anything. So there's a lot of Nate Diaz, fight cards that I have watched or that I have not watched because there's nothing to gain from it. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on that. So take that for what it's worth. But hopefully we know something soon there about UFC 300. So let's see what we have over here. Just grab some cards. see what we got. It's from last year. I mean, well, from 2023 products, but there's more coming out. Ankalaev just came out. But, we'll take a look here. Marvin Vettori, we got some autos of him. And all of these are for sale. You can find these on our eBay store, Orange Fire Lots of Lots. You can reach out to me directly, russ@orange-fire.com. You can buy all of our stuff. You can find me on Facebook, just my personal profile, Russ Renault, or Orange Fire Media. You can find us on X. It's all Orange Fire Media. You can find it anywhere. So we got a Damon Jackson. That's our best auto that we have left. Number 25, rookie from last year, rookie auto. We did get this. We had a redemption. We sent it in. We didn't get the actual redemption back, so they sent us something better. They sent us this BJ Penn UFC Legendary from 2022, but it's encapsulated with the seal, so I think we came out better on that deal. We're actually waiting for an Izzy redemption as well, so I'd like to see that back. But all of our stuff's listed as lots, so if you're looking for one fighter, we'll usually have multiple cards of somebody. But we've also got this BJ Penn Red Hollow Laser from Donruss. It's number 25 of 75, so those are together. There's some other stuff in there, some other color cards that aren't numbered to BJ Penn. We talked about our Randy Brown auto earlier, got that. So this stuff can be had pretty cheap, so please go look at our store. It's worth checking out, because you're probably going to end up getting something in addition to the only card that's listed. You'll end up, like with Randy Brown, you'll end up getting a silver along with that. And you can see our feedback on eBay that a lot of our customers just say how surprised they are that I include all those cards in there. So if you want something extra, I will put it in there if I have it. So if you're buying a rookie, you're probably not going to get a lot extra. But you know what? It's something we do. The lowest number card we have remaining is this Macy Chason Octagon Prism. And so that's 8 of 8. That's bookend. That's the lowest one we have left. So we'll be going through some other stuff as the year goes on. But Tom, thanks for reaching out in the comments there. So yeah, I appreciate that so much. We'll be doing some things here. We're working on some partnerships. I've been talking to some folks behind the scenes, but that's cool. Won an auction of Jack Della Maddalena optic rated rookie. That's very cool. We do have that JDM. I don't think I can find it that fast. Yeah, I can't find it right now, but we'll pull that out here pretty soon. Still have that. Got 2 autos of Jack Della Maddalena, so I think I still have those. Yeah, I haven't sold those yet. I did sell the Tom Aspinall collection over the break, so no longer have that. Still have Michael Chandler, and so yeah, it's going to be fun. Tom's Gaethje against Masvidal for the BMF. Yeah, I can see that, but as I just said, I don't want to see a non-title fight. I know it's a BMF title, but man, UFC 300 just seems like it should have a real title fight to headline that. So yeah, hopefully that happens soon. But I actually don't expect them to announce that until March 9th, to be honest. But there's gonna be a lot of speculation between now and then. So yeah, man, this is season 2, episode 1, and we're back, and we're looking to do some different things this year. Like I said, we'll be talking more about fights as far as making predictions. Maybe we get some people on who will talk about their own predictions, and maybe announce some of the partnerships that we've been kind of working on during the break. But yeah, appreciate you, Tom, and everybody that's been watching. I think these instant reactions are a better deal, especially if you're, going to work on Monday, something to pass the time. Instead of me going through a whole bunch of cards, you get 30 minutes of me talking about fights, which is probably a better deal for a lot of people. And so, yeah, I appreciate all the support. And so just keep coming back, tell everybody, all the groups you're in, that there's somebody out there that will wrap up fights as soon as the fight card's over, and we'll wrap them up on those Saturday nights. But yeah, this is the first show of this season. We're looking forward to the rest of 2024 and seeing everybody here every week and what we have in store here on the UFC Fight Cards podcast. I'm Russ Renault, and you've been watching the UFC Fight Cards podcast presented by Orange Fire Media, and we will see you again next week after UFC 297 from Toronto on January 20th. So we've got Sean Strickland putting up the middleweight title against Dricus du Plessis. And so, once again, I'm Russ Renault. Thanks for joining us this weekend and starting us off here. Enjoy the long weekend if you have Monday off. And if you're anywhere in the country, stay warm, stay safe, stay inside as much as you can, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you then.